Real power is often misunderstood. Many believe power is in speaking louder, in asserting dominance, in proving themselves to everyone around them. Yet the truth is far more subtle, far more profound. True power does not demand attention. True power does not need to defend itself. True power exists quietly, like the roots of an ancient tree that anchor it firmly, while the wind swirls around. It is in the ability to remain calm, composed, and silent, in moments where others would react impulsively. This is the essence of mastery, the art of choosing not to react. When you do not react, you reclaim control over your mind, your energy, and your life. To react is to hand over your power to someone else, to let their actions dictate your emotions, your decisions, and your peace. Every time you respond to provocation with anger, frustration, or defensiveness, you are playing their game. They may feel victorious for a moment, because you have engaged, because you have responded. But the one who chooses silence rises above, observing without surrendering, responding only with intention rather than impulse. Silence is the hidden language of power. It is the force that commands respect without demanding it. Many people fear silence, equating it with weakness. They believe that if they do not react, they are allowing others to walk over them. But the opposite is true. Silence is strength. It is self-mastery. When someone tries to provoke you, insults you, or manipulates you, reacting immediately only entangles you further in their drama. But when you remain silent, you preserve your energy, maintain clarity, and allow the universe, karma, life itself, to bring balance. Every unprovoked reaction diminishes your power, while every moment of restraint strengthens it exponentially. Consider the moments in life that truly test you. Moments of disrespect, betrayal, gossip, or envy. Each of these is a call to the higher self. The instinct is to respond, to defend, to assert. Yet those who react are often led by ego, driven by the need for recognition, for validation, for temporary relief. The one who remains silent, however, acts from a place of wisdom and foresight. They know that the external world cannot define their internal state unless permission is granted. They understand that true authority comes not from being heard, but from being composed, deliberate, and unshakable. Reactivity often comes from identification with the self. When someone attacks your character, belittles your achievements, or spreads lies about you, it triggers a reflex. The ego reacts to protect itself. But when you understand that your true self is beyond opinion, beyond judgment, beyond external chaos, silence becomes a natural response. Silence is not passivity. It is recognition of what truly matters. Words spoken in haste often leave consequences that cannot be undone. Words left unsaid preserve dignity, maintain energy, and give power back to the universe to restore equilibrium. One of the greatest lessons in not reacting is the power of observation. When you remain silent, you can see clearly. You observe the motivations of others, the patterns of behavior, and the cycles of conflict. You begin to notice who seeks to manipulate, who thrives on drama, and who genuinely communicates with intention. This observation is only possible when the mind is calm, when reactions are withheld, and when silence prevails. You gain a clarity that is unavailable to those who respond impulsively. Clarity is power, and power in silence is mastery. Silence also communicates more than words ever can. When someone tries to provoke you, and you do not respond, they are faced with a mirror of their own behavior. Their expectations are subverted. They anticipated chaos, defensiveness, or outrage, but instead they encounter calm, composed presence. This silence unsettles them more profoundly than any argument could. It demonstrates control, authority, and confidence. It shows that your inner world is independent of external disturbances, and the impact of this silent strength often lingers longer than any confrontation ever could. To cultivate this form of power, practice restraint consistently. Begin with small triggers, the minor insults, the slight inconveniences, the petty disagreements. Choose not to react immediately. Breathe, observe, reflect. Over time, this practice builds a reservoir of inner stability. When larger challenges arise, profound betrayal, significant provocation, or unjust treatment, you will be able to respond with wisdom rather than reflex. Your power grows not in the heat of conflict, but in the calmness cultivated long before the storm arrives. Another dimension of real power in silence is patience. Immediate reactions are often short-sighted. They seek instant gratification of ego, revenge, or vindication. but true power understands the long game. It understands that the universe, karma, and the natural order have mechanisms far beyond human control. By choosing silence, you allow time to unfold, clarity to emerge, and consequences to manifest naturally. The one who reacts impulsively may feel victorious momentarily, but it is the silent observer whose authority endures. Let us also consider the protection of energy. Reacting to every slight, every insult, every manipulation drains your mental, emotional, and spiritual reserves. Over time, this reactive energy leads to exhaustion, resentment, and diminished focus. Silence, on the other hand, conserves energy. It channels it toward growth, productivity, and creation. It keeps the mind unclouded, the heart steady, and the spirit aligned. When you do not react, you maintain a sacred space within yourself that cannot be invaded by chaos or negativity. Finally, power in silence is not passive, it is strategic. By observing, conserving energy, and waiting for the right moment, you act when it matters most. The right words, the right actions, the right decisions, all carry far more weight when spoken or executed from a position of calm authority rather than reactive emotion. In silence, you prepare yourself for mastery, ensuring that your influence is lasting, not fleeting. The world may not always understand your quiet, but it will feel the impact of your composure and your wisdom. When you embrace the discipline of not reacting, life begins to shift. You are no longer entangled in endless arguments, superficial disputes, or the chaos created by others' need for control. You walk through life anchored in presence, aware of every moment, and aligned with the rhythm of your own integrity. Karma, the natural law of cause and effect, begins to work quietly on your behalf. The energy you save and the dignity you preserve allow the universe to balance what cannot be balanced by words alone. In conclusion, real power is the power of restraint. Real authority is found in calm presence, quiet observation, and deliberate action. When you choose not to react, you maintain control over your life, protect your energy, and let karma handle what lies beyond your influence. True mastery is not measured by how loudly you speak, but by how composedly you hold yourself when the world tries to provoke you. In silence, you are untouchable. In stillness, you are sovereign. And in restraint, you reveal the essence of real power that cannot be taken, diminished, or challenged. True power is often invisible at first glance. People look for it in gestures, in loud declarations, or in acts of dominance. They equate power with aggression, authority with volume, and mastery with control over others. But the deepest, most lasting form of power is quiet. It is the calm presence that does not flinch when provoked, the steady mind that observes without reacting, and the heart that remains unshaken amid chaos. Real power does not chase recognition. It simply exists, and those who recognize it understand that silence is far more commanding than words ever could be. When someone provokes you, through insult, manipulation, or dishonesty, the immediate human instinct is to react. Your mind flares with defensiveness, your body tenses, and your heart races. You feel the urge to strike back, to defend yourself, to correct the injustice. This is natural, but it is also where most people lose their power. Reacting in the heat of the moment is surrendering your energy to another. You are letting their actions dictate your inner state, giving away the control that belongs only to you. The one who remains calm, however, is not surrendering. They are simply claiming their sovereignty over their own energy and emotions. Calmness in the face of provocation is the ultimate display of mastery. When you do not react, you demonstrate that your internal state cannot be dictated by external circumstances. You show that you are guided by principles, not impulses, by awareness, not anger, by vision, not ego. This is the invisible force that commands respect without demanding it. People notice it instinctively. They may not understand why you do not respond, why you remain composed, but they feel it. Silence becomes more powerful than speech, stillness more impactful than action, and restraint more impressive than retaliation. Consider how energy works. Every reaction consumes it, every outburst drains your mental, emotional, and spiritual reserves, every defensive word or angry gesture strengthens the chaos around you while weakening your own foundation. By staying calm and not reacting, you conserve your energy for actions that truly matter, decisions that shape your life, actions that influence the world, and relationships that are meaningful. In this way, calmness is not passive. It is a strategic deployment of power. It is knowing where to invest energy and where to withdraw it, and understanding that not every battle is worth fighting. Patience is a key pillar of this form of power. Immediate reactions are often short-sighted. They seek temporary relief or quick validation, but real power looks at the long game. It understands the law of cause and effect, the principle of karma, and the natural unfolding of events. By choosing calmness, you allow time for clarity, reflection, and perspective. The provocateur may feel they have achieved victory when you do not react, but the true balance is maintained in the quiet strength of your composure. Karma works in silence, and your restraint ensures that justice unfolds naturally, without the need for impulsive intervention. There is also a lesson in self-awareness. Reactivity is often rooted in ego, the need to be right, to be acknowledged, or to protect one's image. When someone provokes you, the ego perceives a threat and demands immediate defense, but the person who has cultivated real power recognizes the impermanence of egoic concerns. They understand that their true identity is beyond opinions, beyond judgment, and beyond external validation. Silence becomes a tool for preserving integrity and maintaining alignment with one's higher self. By refusing to react, you assert that your value and your reality are independent of anyone else's perception. Observation is another aspect of true power. When you remain calm, you can see the situation with clarity that is unavailable to those caught in reactive energy. You notice patterns, intentions, and motives. You can distinguish between genuine criticism and manipulation, between misunderstanding and malice. This awareness equips you to respond intelligently when necessary, rather than being swept into reactive chaos. Silence is the space where discernment grows, where clarity emerges, and where wisdom becomes visible in your presence. Silence also communicates authority in ways words cannot. When someone expects an emotional reaction and finds none, the power dynamic shifts. They realize that their attempts to provoke, control, or manipulate are ineffective. Your calmness is a mirror, reflecting their energy back without engagement, revealing the futility of their actions. This silent authority commands more respect than any argument ever could, because it is rooted in self-control and awareness rather than external force. People instinctively recognize that your strength lies within, not in what you say or do in the moment. Real power in calmness also protects relationships and reputation. Reacting impulsively can escalate conflicts, create misunderstandings, and leave a trail of regret. It may temporarily satisfy the ego, but it often damages long-term connections. By choosing to remain composed, you maintain the integrity of your interactions. You prevent unnecessary drama, and you create space for thoughtful communication when the time is right. Calmness preserves dignity, ensures clarity, and allows your actions to reflect your values rather than your emotions. This practice, however, requires discipline. It is easy to claim calmness in theory, but in practice, it demands mastery over thoughts, emotions, and impulses. Begin with small triggers, minor criticisms, subtle slights, everyday inconveniences. Pause, breathe, observe your impulses without acting on them. Over time, this builds the mental and emotional resilience necessary to withstand more significant provocations. The longer you practice, the more your calm becomes instinctive, a natural response rather than a deliberate effort. Calmness in the face of provocation is also transformative internally. It allows you to maintain mental clarity, emotional balance, and spiritual alignment. It prevents unnecessary stress, protects your energy, and nurtures a sense of peace that cannot be disturbed by external chaos. You begin to realize that control over oneself is the highest form of power, far exceeding the need to control others or situations. By mastering your reactions, you master life itself. In conclusion, real power is revealed not through loud words, aggressive actions, or visible dominance, but through calmness, silence, and restraint. When others provoke you, when chaos swirls around, when ego demands reaction, the choice to remain composed is a demonstration of mastery. It preserves your energy, protects your dignity, allows karma to work, and creates space for clarity and wisdom. The one who does not react is untouchable, unshaken, and sovereign. Silence is their strength, calmness is their power, and restraint is their ultimate victory. This is what real power looks like. It is quiet, deliberate, and enduring. Criticism is a constant in life. No matter who you are, what you do, or how disciplined you become, There will always be voices attempting to diminish you, to belittle your achievements, or to undermine your confidence. The natural instinct is to defend yourself, to explain, to justify, to prove your worth. Yet the truly powerful understand that reacting to criticism is often a surrender of energy, a loss of authority, and a misdirection of focus. Silence in these moments is not weakness, it is mastery, it is strength, it is the unmistakable mark of real power. When someone criticizes you unfairly, their words are projections. They reflect their insecurities, their judgments, their misunderstandings, and their need to assert dominance in some form. Reacting immediately to these words, defending yourself, or attempting to correct their perception, is to accept the framework they have created. It places you in a reactive position, governed by someone else's energy and intentions. Silence, however, allows you to reclaim the narrative, not by speaking, but by maintaining your equilibrium and letting your actions and integrity speak louder than words ever could. There is a profound lesson in observing without reacting. When faced with criticism, take a moment, breathe, assess whether the feedback holds any truth, or whether it is purely an attempt to provoke or manipulate. Many times, criticism says more about the criticizer than it does about you. It is rooted in their perspective, not the reality of your life or your character. By choosing silence, you allow discernment to enter. You separate the noise from the truth, the signal from the distortion. This clarity cannot be achieved while reacting emotionally or defensively. It emerges only in the stillness of observation. Silence also communicates confidence and authority. When someone expects a defensive response and receives none, it unsettles them. Your composure becomes a mirror, reflecting their behavior. They see that their attempt to provoke, intimidate, or diminish you has failed. You demonstrate, without speaking, that your self-worth is independent of external approval or criticism. This silent strength commands more respect than words because it signals mastery over the self rather than a desperate attempt to assert dominance over others. Moreover, choosing not to react preserves your energy. Words spoken in haste, arguments engaged in impulsively, defenses launched immediately, all drain focus, mental clarity, and emotional balance. Every reactive moment is an expenditure of energy that could otherwise be used to create, to achieve, and to elevate yourself. By remaining silent, you conserve this energy, redirecting it toward growth, productivity, and meaningful impact. Silence becomes an investment in your long-term power rather than a short-term release of emotional tension. It is essential to understand that silence does not mean indifference. It does not mean accepting injustice or allowing negativity to go unchecked. Rather, it is a deliberate choice to respond when the timing, method, and energy align with wisdom and effectiveness. A calm, measured response, when necessary, carries far more weight than an immediate reactive retort. The person who reacts is often forgotten, their words soon replaced by the next conflict. The one who remains silent, observing and choosing action strategically, leaves a lasting impression of control, intelligence, and authority. In addition, silence in the face of criticism allows karma and natural consequences to operate. Those who spread false judgments, attempt to undermine or belittle others, often reveal their own character in the process. Over time, their actions return to them, while your composure remains intact, untainted, and respected. The world has a way of balancing itself, and your silence provides the space for that balance to manifest. You do not need to intervene forcefully. The universe ensures that truth, fairness, and justice unfold naturally. Silence also protects your relationships and reputation. Reacting impulsively to criticism often escalates conflict, creates misunderstandings, and leaves long-lasting resentment. By holding your tongue, you maintain clarity and preserve the integrity of your interactions. People begin to notice the consistency between your words, actions, and character. They see that you do not allow petty provocations to sway your energy or judgment. Your reputation becomes a reflection of stability, wisdom, and authenticity, which is far more enduring than any momentary argument or rebuttal. There is also an internal transformation that occurs when you master silence in the face of criticism. You develop patience, emotional resilience, and self-awareness. You learn to identify triggers, recognize the ego's need to react, and cultivate the ability to respond deliberately rather than impulsively. Each moment of restraint strengthens your self-mastery, building a foundation of mental and emotional stability that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. Real power is developed quietly, consistently, and deliberately, not in fleeting outbursts of reaction. Furthermore, silence allows for reflection and growth. Criticism, when received with composure, can be evaluated objectively. You can extract the valuable insights, discard the distortions, and improve without the interference of ego or emotion. By not reacting, you create a space for learning and evolution, transforming potentially negative experiences into opportunities for personal development. The reactive person remains trapped in emotion, while the silent observer converts challenges into wisdom and strength. The practice of non-reaction in the face of criticism also shapes perception. People notice who is easily provoked and who is composed. They notice who engages in endless arguments and who maintains a calm presence. This perception reinforces authority and credibility. When you do not react, you demonstrate that your energy is intentional, your focus is disciplined, and your presence is grounded. Others come to recognize that your influence is derived from mastery over self, not from external conflict. In life, the temptation to react to criticism is constant, but the reward for restraint is enduring. Each choice to remain silent, each decision not to engage impulsively, cultivates an invisible power that is far stronger than any words spoken in the heat of emotion. This power is self-sustaining, long-lasting, and transformative. It shapes not only your interactions but your inner state, allowing you to navigate life with clarity, dignity, and authority. In conclusion, real power in silence is revealed most clearly in moments of criticism. The ability to remain composed, to observe without reacting, and to discern truth from provocation is a hallmark of mastery. Silence preserves your energy, safeguards your reputation, allows karma to act, and strengthens your internal authority. It communicates strength without aggression, wisdom without words, and confidence without validation. Those who understand and practice this form of restraint become untouchable, unshaken, and sovereign in the face of negativity. Real power is not loud. It is quiet, deliberate, and enduring. It is the mastery of self, and it is revealed fully when you choose not to react. Manipulation is one of the most subtle and pervasive challenges we face in life. People often try to influence, provoke, or control us through words, actions, or even silent gestures. The natural instinct is to resist, react, or retaliate, to assert control over the situation and prove that we are not to be toyed with. But this is precisely where many lose their power. Real power does not arise from force or reaction. It emerges in silence, in stillness, in the unwavering ability to maintain your equilibrium while the world attempts to disrupt it. When someone attempts to manipulate or provoke you, every reaction is an energy exchange. They expend effort to disturb you, and if you respond impulsively, you give them precisely what they seek: attention, control, and influence over your state of mind. By choosing silence, you refuse to participate in their game, you withdraw your energy from their manipulation, and in doing so, you reclaim control over your own consciousness. The power of silence is that it allows you to rise above, not by dominating the other person, but by remaining sovereign over yourself. Silence in these moments is a form of invisible authority. It communicates that your energy cannot be dictated, that your focus cannot be diverted, and that your mind is not easily unsettled. Those attempting to manipulate often rely on immediate reactions, anger, fear, defensiveness, to gauge influence. When they encounter silence instead, it disrupts their expectations. They begin to realize that the person before them is unshakable, untouchable, and unengaged in their schemes. This form of authority is far more powerful than words or physical force because it is rooted in mastery over the self rather than attempts to dominate others. Energy management is crucial in understanding why silence is the ultimate display of power. Reacting impulsively drains not only emotional energy but also mental clarity. Every argument, every defense, every outburst is an expenditure of effort that could have been redirected toward creation, growth, and personal advancement. Silence preserves this energy, allowing you to maintain focus, strategic thinking, and emotional stability. It positions you to act not from impulsive reactions, but from deliberate choice, and this is the true hallmark of mastery. Patience is an essential companion to silence. In the face of manipulation, the immediate desire is to correct, confront, or retaliate. But real power is aware of timing, context, and consequences. Silence allows the situation to unfold naturally, revealing truths that cannot be forced or rushed. Those who attempt to manipulate will often expose themselves over time. Their motives, actions, and character will reveal the reality behind their attempts without you needing to intervene. By waiting, observing, and maintaining composure, you allow karma, natural law, and the consequences of actions to work on your behalf. Self-awareness is also central to the power of silence. Manipulation often triggers emotional responses, guilt, anger, fear, or defensiveness. By cultivating awareness of your internal state, you can identify these triggers before they control your behavior. Silence becomes a tool to maintain alignment with your values, your vision, and your higher self. It ensures that your responses are intentional rather than reactive. Each moment of restraint strengthens your ability to navigate life with precision, dignity, and authority. Observation in silence provides insight that reaction cannot. When you remain composed, you gain clarity about the manipulator's tactics, patterns, and weaknesses. You see the situation objectively, without being clouded by emotional reactivity. This clarity enables strategic action when necessary, allowing you to address challenges from a place of strength rather than weakness. Reacting impulsively often blinds us to the larger picture, but silence gives perspective, revealing truths hidden behind the noise of immediate provocation. Another aspect of real power in silence is reputation management. Those who react impulsively may satisfy short-term urges or emotional release, but often at the cost of long-term credibility. Silent mastery, on the other hand, projects strength, intelligence, and composure. People notice those who remain unshaken amid chaos, and they respect the ability to maintain equilibrium when others falter. Your silence becomes a statement of authority, signaling that you operate from self-mastery rather than reactive emotion. Silence also creates space for strategic communication. Not every moment requires a response, and not every confrontation warrants engagement. By practicing restraint, you conserve your energy for moments when your voice, your actions, or your decisions will have the greatest impact. Words spoken from a calm, deliberate, and powerful state carry far more weight than words spoken impulsively in anger or fear. The silent person is patient, deliberate, and impactful, demonstrating that true influence is measured by effectiveness, not volume or immediacy. Internal transformation accompanies the practice of silence in manipulative situations. Each moment of non-reaction cultivates patience, resilience, and emotional intelligence. You learn to differentiate between what deserves attention and what does not, between provocation that is worth engagement and provocation that is meant to distract or destabilize. Over time, your ability to remain composed becomes instinctive. This is real power. The ability to navigate life's challenges without surrendering energy to chaos, while maintaining clarity, purpose, and dignity. Finally, silence allows for the natural course of justice and balance. Those who seek to manipulate or provoke often reveal their true intentions over time. The consequences of their actions will manifest, whether through failed efforts, exposed deception, or the natural alignment of cause and effect. By refraining from reaction, you create space for these natural processes to unfold, allowing karma to operate without interference. Your composure ensures that you remain untouched, your reputation untarnished, and your energy intact, while life addresses imbalance in the most effective and fair manner. In conclusion, real power is revealed in silence, particularly when faced with manipulation, provocation, or attempts at control. It is the ability to maintain composure, observe clearly, conserve energy, and act deliberately that separates the truly powerful from the reactive. Silence protects your integrity, preserves your dignity, and allows karma to act naturally. It communicates authority without words, ensures influence without aggression, and cultivates mastery over oneself that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. The silent person demonstrates strength, patience, and wisdom far beyond what reaction can achieve. Real power is not loud, reactive, or immediate. It is deliberate, calm, and enduring. It is revealed fully in those moments when you choose not to react, letting presence, awareness, and integrity speak louder than any words ever could. Betrayal is one of life's deepest challenges. It strikes at trust, shatters expectations, and wounds the heart in ways that words can scarcely convey. When someone you trusted acts against you, the immediate reaction is often anger, disbelief, or a desperate need to respond. Yet this is precisely where mastery is required. True power does not react impulsively to betrayal. It does not seek revenge or confrontation in the heat of emotion. Real power is silent. It observes, it preserves, it allows life and karma to administer balance. When betrayal occurs, reacting can often worsen the situation. Arguments escalate, misunderstandings multiply, and energy is drained without creating meaningful resolution. The betrayer's intent may be to provoke a response, to extract an emotional reaction that confirms their perceived power. By remaining silent, you deny them that satisfaction. Your calmness is a statement of authority, signaling that your internal state is untouchable, that your peace is non-negotiable. Silence in these moments becomes a shield, a form of power that cannot be challenged, diminished, or undermined. Envy and attempts to undermine you are also tests of your mastery. People driven by jealousy often project their insecurities onto others, seeking to disrupt, belittle, or provoke. The natural impulse is to react, to defend yourself, or to retaliate. But the person who understands true power recognizes that responding only engages their energy and strengthens the cycle of negativity. Silence, on the other hand, preserves your energy, maintains clarity, and allows natural consequences to unfold. Karma operates most effectively when you do not interfere, when you do not react, and when you let actions reveal the truth over time. There is an important lesson in patience. When facing betrayal or envy, immediate reactions are often driven by ego and short-term emotion, seeking justice or validation in the moment. Real power, however, views life strategically. It understands that justice and balance do not need to be forced. By maintaining silence, you allow the universe to align circumstances naturally, revealing truth, consequences, and outcomes without your intervention. The betrayer or envious individual may attempt to manipulate the narrative, but over time their actions are revealed for what they truly are, while your integrity remains intact. Observation is a critical tool in harnessing power through silence. When you refrain from reacting, you can assess the situation with clarity. You notice patterns, motives, and the larger dynamics at play. You gain insight into who is genuine, who is acting out of selfishness, and who cannot be trusted. This clarity enables you to make informed decisions, to navigate relationships wisely, and to act only when it is truly necessary. Reaction clouds judgment. Silence enhances it. In this way, the silent person is not passive. They are strategic, aware, and in control. Silence also communicates a message stronger than any words could. When a betrayer expects confrontation and receives none, it creates a profound shift. They are forced to confront the futility of their attempts to manipulate or hurt you. Your composure becomes a mirror, reflecting their actions and their intentions back to them. This silent authority is far more impactful than anger, argument, or revenge. It demonstrates mastery, resilience, and unshakable strength, signaling that you are guided not by external chaos, but by internal discipline. Conserving energy is another crucial benefit of silence in these circumstances. Responding impulsively to betrayal, envy, or provocation consumes mental and emotional resources that could otherwise be directed toward growth, creation, and fulfillment. Every reactive moment diverts focus from your purpose, your vision, and your progress. Silence allows you to preserve your energy, channeling it into endeavors that matter, strengthening your capacity for strategic action, and ensuring that your presence remains powerful without being wasted on fruitless conflict. True power in silence also protects your reputation and relationships. When you react impulsively, even with justification, it often escalates conflict, generates misunderstanding, and leaves lasting impressions that may harm your credibility. By remaining composed, you maintain dignity, project authority, and ensure that your interactions are guided by principle rather than emotion. Others observe this restraint and recognize the strength in your presence, the reliability in your character, and the depth of your wisdom. Embracing silence in the face of betrayal requires a shift in perspective. It is easy to equate action with effectiveness, words with influence, and reaction with strength. But the most potent power is subtle. It is the unshakable calm of someone who understands that true influence comes not from engagement in every drama, but from selective, deliberate action that aligns with integrity, vision, and timing. By choosing silence, you rise above the petty distractions, and your impact becomes enduring rather than transient. There is also a spiritual dimension to this practice. By not reacting to betrayal or envy, you align yourself with a higher law, the universal principle of cause and effect. You cultivate patience, trust, and the understanding that balance will be restored naturally. Silence in this context is a form of spiritual strength. It demonstrates faith in the natural order, confidence in your integrity, and mastery over impulses that are often driven by fear or anger. Those who master silence walk with a quiet authority that commands respect and admiration without ever demanding it. Finally, silence allows for reflection, growth, and transformation. Betrayal and envy, while painful, are opportunities to strengthen resilience, develop discernment, and deepen wisdom. The choice not to react provides a space for introspection and self-evaluation, allowing you to extract lessons without becoming entangled in negativity. Over time, this discipline cultivates emotional intelligence, inner strength, and the ability to navigate life with composure, purpose, and clarity. Real power is developed through these consistent, deliberate choices, not through impulsive reactions to temporary provocations. In conclusion, true power is revealed in silence, especially when faced with betrayal, envy, or attempts to undermine you. It is the ability to maintain composure, observe with clarity, conserve energy, and act strategically that defines mastery. Silence preserves integrity, protects dignity, allows karma to operate naturally, and communicates authority without aggression. The one who does not react is untouchable, unshaken, and sovereign. Real power is not measured by words or reactions, but by the quiet strength, deliberate presence, and unwavering resilience of a person who has mastered themselves. Silence is the ultimate expression of mastery, and in it, the highest form of power is revealed.